Wrestle Plug 444 Life.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to hashtag get plugged in. The refreshing, empowering moment that we have all wanted from WWE.
It's like ordering a medium pizza and then turning up with an extra large and a bottle of Coke.
You absolute mouldy cheese fucking baby bell dairy lead dunker shit.
What happens is these fucking people live in this fantasy land.
Everyone got their shit in, everyone got each other over, everyone looked good, and made the industry look great.
People need to fucking back the fuck off Ronda Rousey.
New Japan wrestling talent.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Manic Mondays. It's Wrestle Plug's retro podcast you get every single Monday, where myself and my illustrious co-host discuss an incredible time period in wrestling from the past. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, as you will know from our last Manic Mondays, we are covering 2004, one of the most incredible years, one of the most emotional years in WWE's history. We're looking through all the pay-per-views, and of course, if we were covering Royal Rumble last week, that means it's time for One Way Out. And there is only one way out. It's no way out. There's no way out. It's like deadly game, baby. I can't fucking wait. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, America's Name. Joining me, of course, is the illustrious host I mentioned, Steve Neal.
Yeah, baby. No Way Out 2004. Historic. People will remember why. We love this year in wrestling. We're going to get through all of the wrestle crap before we get to that illustrious main event, though. And, mate, this
and
was...
is there some crap to wade through?
The vintage. Oh, yes, this is what WWE used to be like when they brought out Sable and Tori Wilson to promote their Playboy cover.
Jesus
and the fact they're just going... We'll do anything to entertain you. Shut your mouth, Tori Wilson. Unacceptable sexuality right now. This was how WWE literally viewed, well, it's how Vince still views women. This is how WWE viewed women in this era completely and utterly. Like, the use of women on this show is fucking hilarious to look back on in comparison to where they are now. It really does show the journey that division's been on. My God.
What jarring entrance. No, like, you know, on pay-per-views presented by Skittles. And now, No Way Out. Nothing like that. Just like these two come swanning out. Also,
Yes.
What's with Sable's voice as well? It's funny, actually, when you think about it. Sable opened the show and Brock Lesnar closed it. The fucking state of her voice as well. Like, Tori's like, hi, I'm a sensitive woman. Sable's like,
Tori and I wanted to come out here tonight and say hello, San Francisco.
I'm on the Playboy cover. It's like, what is
Woody Woodpecker with tits, basically.
She's terrifying. She really is. And I'm just like, wow, that's jarring. Okay, well, I'll put up with it. But No Way Out 2004, February 15th, 2004 to be precise, is a brand pay-per-view, so it's SmackDown specific from the Cow Palace.
You sort out the name of your fucking arenas, the United States of America. For fuck's sake.
The Cow Palace. That's fucking amazing.
I hope there's just a giant king cow, like a fucking emperor cow, sat on the top of that building. Fucking, this is my palace. Moo! Fuck you! Moo! Fucking moo! Milk me now, you cunt! Fucking moo!
It's the Cow Palace, and it's the home of the Golden State Warriors, who up until, interestingly enough, I believe this is the arena that's just been shut down, actually, and they've moved to a brand new one in San Francisco.
Cow's dead, mate.
Yeah, the cow's dead now. It is now prime beef. But the reality is it's in a really gangster area. But yeah, it is jarring. Speaking of cows... Michael Collins has on comms. WWE Tag Team Championship handicap match. The handicap, I assume, being that we have to watch this match. Scotty 2 Hotty and Rikishi as the champions. Yes, Scotty 2 Hotty and Rikishi in 2004 are your WWE Tag Team Champions.
They're not called Too Cool. They are literally just Scotty and Rikishi.
Yeah. They're already semi-cool without Grandmaster Sexy, who is currently, I imagine, at this point, binging somewhere. In peace, by the way. This is the Basham Brothers and Shaniqua. Wow, the Basham Brothers, who were currently tag team champions when we last watched this, are no longer champions. The only thing I really had any interest in was Shaniqua, which is Also, who came up with that name? Oh, she's black and she's massive. Shaniqua? Hey, come on.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Terrible. This match wasn't very good. I didn't like it. I just thought it was stupid. I don't care. And I have really good memories of Too Cool as well. I remember them from remember the old days when they used to all put their
like
shades
2000 and all that era of Too Cool.
the Attitude Era as well. And they remember when they backed up Mick Foley and The Rock in the handicap?
Yeah.
They were kind of like the plucky faces that would come out and help your heroes. I really enjoyed them in that role. But this is tedious. Rikishi's tits are even bigger, and it's full of really shit drivers. Also, I love this. Did you notice this? As soon as they lock up, first moment of the match, Michael Cole gets the Basham brother wrong. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, that's Doug. Oh, fucking hell.
And we're off.
You fucking idiot. And the only other thing that I noticed from this match, which was really uninspiring, and by the way, the champions retained by Rikishi stuffing his arse as hard as he could into Shaniqua's face, was that they had the hilarious racist Samoan tropes, and they're like, I'm going to headbutt you. Oh, God, you're Samoan. It hurts so much. Why'd you have such a stronger skull than everybody else? Why'd you eat raw chicken? Really, really dumb. I was disappointed in this opener, and I gave it a rather stellar 2 out of 5 stars.
This match was fucking shit. It was the actual drizzling shit. Shaniqua, who was the co-winner of Tough Enough in 2002 or something like that. And she'd been around, she'd done a bit of stuff, gone away, come back, done this team with the Basham brothers. She'd done some, an angle with Shelton Benjamin, I think, before that. And was now the Basham brothers manager. This is actually her last ever televised appearance for WWE. This is her legacy. Getting the arse of Rikishi all over her chest. But what I've got written down here is Shaniqua is the original Black China, and she didn't even need to marry into the Kardashians. I think that's a pop culture joke. If I'm wrong, then
no idea. But it sounds funny. It sounds like something.
Sounds like it could be.
Would say.
Yeah, that sounds like somebody who watches E. Can a Total Divas fan tell me if that is correct or not, please? I don't care. Don't.
Marley, you watch that shit. You let us know.
Yeah. No, this was shit. And what was also shit is straight after this, we get the fact that Goldberg has been given a ticket by Stone Cold Steve Austin so that Goldberg can come out and sit ringside for Brock Lesnar's title defense later tonight. But he's not shown up yet. So for the second pay-per-view in a row, we have, where is the babyface? They haven't shown up. They must be scared. They must be a coward. Just like they did with Mick Foley at the Royal Rumble a month earlier. Lazy bastards.
Yes, where is Goldberg? Nobody cares. And nobody will care until the main event when he's needed. Thank you. Wow. You speaking of cows again, from the vaults of Wrestle crap. It is a blindfolded match. Well, only one. TNA. Yeah, see, this is really frustrating, right? Because I actually have good memories of blindfold matches, except for that horrific car crash that was James Storm versus Chris Harris, Wildcat in TNA. I can't remember which one it was. Lethal Lockdown. I think
Lethal Lockdown, yeah.
Yeah, Lethal Lockdown 2007. It has to be watched to be believed. It is truly.
I think we covered it. I think we covered that on Manic Mondays.
Yes, we did. Yeah, it was comical. I mean, it's also, bearing in mind, it was on the same pay-per-view that had the electric cage of death.
Yeah.
My lord, like TNA, you think you could win shitty awards? We'll give you some goddamn awards. Just going after all the shit. But yeah, so Jamie Noble and Nidia, as I mentioned at the last show, of course, there was dissension because Nidia was blind, thanks to Tajiri's green mist, which was not afforded to us the first time we watched this. So now I know why she was blinded. I was hoping it was going to be something hilarious, like Jamie Noble with jizzed in her eyes or something ridiculous like that, because that seems like something book. But so they finally come to a point in their relationship where they've had enough. And I honestly thought I wasn't going to see a wood chipper again after the incident with Moppy during our coverage of the Alliance.
Trigger warning, chipper?
Chipper? Fucking get down the chipper, mate. If you're going to do anything instead of watching this shit. Jamie Noble versus his illustrious, fiancée Nidia. My lord.
She's got her eyesight back. She's got her eyesight back, yeah. Miraculously cured.
Jamie Noble, as punishment, has to wear a blindfold during said match. So that kind of evens the odds. There's some very historic moments, actually, in terms of WWE when it comes to blindfold matches. I don't know if you've seen Jake the Snake Roberts versus Rick Martel, a very famous match from WrestleMania 7, I want to say, somewhere around that region. Very cool match. Very, very cool match. Really funny. The only problem with that match was the fact that Jake the Snake Roberts ruins it by sticking his hand underneath the mask to scratch his nostrils, and therefore you see that it's actually a mesh net over his eyes, and it's not actually idiot. It's just a kayfabe killer. And also, rather famously, D'Lo Brown versus Triple H on Raw, which you would think, what? And it was actually. I just wanted to mention that match because there's this brilliant moment where Triple H thinks he's having a go at D'Lo Brown in the corner, and D'Lo's moved over to the other corner, and he's like pointing at him, going, "You piece of shit! I'm gonna kick your ass!" And he's just talking to nothing. It's really funny. It's a real highlight of Triple H's career. This is another match, but what this match does, and what this match proves, is that if you're willing to truly have a go. We mentioned Fandango a lot and Breezango and how they were given a shit gimmick, but they made the most of it. And this is something that Jamie Noble deserves some credit for. He busted his ass in this dumb hillbilly gimmick, and Nidia, to her credit, really applies a lot of fun to it as well. And it actually ends up being okay. The whole premise of the match being, of course, Jamie Noble's an idiot. He can't see Nidia, so he keeps falling over, and she's doing hilarious things like kicking him up the arse and pretending to fuck his arse, which is very weird for somebody that you apparently don't like. It's very, very strange. It's almost like, oh, look, him taking up the arse is gay, and gay is funny.
Vince is in the back just going, peg him. I love pegging. Peg him immediately.
Women wear strap-ons. Linda fucks my ass. It's funny. Funny. It's just wild, absolutely wild. But it is quite funny, and I've given it 3.5 out of 5 because for what it is, it's crap, but it's good crap, and I love good crap. This is WCW levels of crap, and I love me some crap. But the thing is, right? It served its purpose. People are going to say this is dumb, this is stupid, and rightfully so, because it is. But it's supposed to be. It's not meant to be a serious athletic contest. It's not meant to be a good wrestling match. It's meant to be a good spectacle. And that it kind of is. And I found it quite funny, although the ending's, obvious. Jamie Nova's a dick. So he looks underneath his hood and he's like, oh, there she is. I'll just throw her off the ropes and then put her in a debilitating submission hold. And you think, you shit house. But I understand why he's done that. What's weird as well is we kind of forget what it is because we're so used to other things. This is an intergender match. And those aren't a thing. Right? WWE doesn't do intergender. So for them to have
one of the night,
a surprise, yeah, exactly. That's the other thing. There was 2 matches here with intergender stipulations, so that's pretty wild. But I gotta be honest, I thought it was quite entertaining. On an undercard, it was pretty shit, to be honest.
The undercard is terrible, and this was a match that I thought should be in a decent segment of like SmackDown of the weekly TV show, and he can get his comeuppance there rather than it taking a spot on the pay-per-view. But having said that, judging by what else was on the pay-per-view, fair enough. It was just, you had these really sort of predictable spots. So you had Jamie Noble almost accidentally cornering Nidia and sort of feeling his way towards her with his hands out, and he's just like a couple of inches from grabbing her boobs, and then he starts moving in another direction. So he just hints at it and doesn't deliver it. And it's little things like that, like she pantses him, she pulls down his jeans, his jorts.
Attention, ladies and gentlemen, Jamie Noble is better than John Cena, and he dresses like him.
Yeah, and he also dresses like Bubba Ray Dudley, so jorts are a big thing. This is where John Cena got his fucking inspiration. This is nonsense, but it's the kind of nonsense that Vince would have been loving backstage. The thing that really annoyed me about this match, the rest of it is like, okay, yeah, it is what it is, is Michael Cole's fake laugh whenever Nidia does something like, boot Jamie Noble up the arse. This is great. Love me, Vince. I'd like to be on Raw, please, Vince. Touch me, Vince. I'll get pegged by Linda. Fuck off.
Wow. That was actually quite amazing. We've hit an all-time high now. Wow. That's pretty astonishing.
Trick of the foot, the schoolyard trick. Nidia's having fun in there.
It is bang on, though. Like, that is... Michael Cole is... We mentioned that Michael Cole and Towns were actually quite good at the last show, but that's because we didn't watch a review of them. Like, when Michael Cole is on it and he wants to sell it, he's really good. But the biggest problem here was that they just seemed really disingenuous a lot of the time. That's what really bugged me about their commentary style, and especially in this match, it was very much like, oh, well, we're just going to try and make it look funny, even though it's not. And it's like, oh.
You know, this is the kind of match where JR would go, he would acknowledge the fact that what you're watching's a bit shit. Do you know what I mean? He wouldn't pretend that what you're watching is hilarious.
Watch it. Yeah, he'd still sell it while admitting that this is a bit
this is nonsense. Yeah.
This match needs Jerry Lawler. Like, Taz is trying to be like Jerry Lawler. Is really like, far be it from me to call upon Jerry Lawler much, but if you're going to have him, this is the matches you want to have him in. This match would have been perfect for the Raw boys, actually. They should have moved this over to the Raw brand, but for what it is, it's not terrible, I must admit. I found it quite funny and quite entertaining, and I was worried it was just going to be... I remember the ending quite well of this match. I remember that he cheated, so I knew he was going to cheat at some point, but I've kind of forgotten all the little nuances. And for Nidia, actually looked quite decent for somebody who doesn't at all. Like, you know, she was able to execute.
Tough enough.
Yeah, like, these are people who, you know, she knew how to wrestle. It's just quite jarring when somebody never wrestles and then they're called upon to have a match. And we see this nowadays. Like, oh, well, you're the manager, but we're going to put you in a match. It's like, okay, fair enough. But what it was, reasonably funny. And once again, it's a win for the blindfold affairs because they do have quite a stink on them thanks to TNA. But WWE does it well. They do it quite well. John Cena and Kurt Angle squaring up backstage, having a bit of a whinge, and then Brawl
so gay. It was so homoerotic. This fucking
I love Dr. Thugonomics, man. I love him. I know you hate him. I love him. Yeah. I really like John Cena as fucking. I really like this gimmick. I'm a huge mark for it. I don't know why, but I just think it's great. I really do. I think it's fucking gold.
An awful human being.
I really am. I know this already. It's just, I don't know why. It just really speaks to me. And we'll get into it more often because obviously they hype the fact that they're in the penultimate match, so to speak, the semi-main event. They're in the number one contenders match along with the Big Show. There's this weird storyline going on about who attacked Kurt Angle, and then Kurt Angle's just having a steamy whinge backstage. Doesn't seem to have improved much since we saw him in 2001, but then we've kind of jumped over the age of Angle, haven't we? We've jumped right through that period, and here we are. So sorry, Kurt, you have to wait. Another tag team match. Now, world's greatest tag team, Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas. I think, awesome. These guys are the best you can ask for in terms of wrestling. I was thrilled. I was really excited. And then I noticed they were wrestling the APA. Who, I'd like to know what you think about the APA, because when I was a kid, I thought they were fucking awesome. You know, these two behemoth badasses who rock up, and you remember when they used to like help out The Rock and stuff like that. Again, they're a too cool spot where they weren't, you know, preeminent faces, weren't superstars, but they were the plucky, kind of tough, you know, guys on the block. They were the locker room leaders. Those were the guys you called upon when you needed somebody to help out the main eventers. And I really enjoyed them. But I'll tell you what, the more I'm watching these shows, and obviously this is 3 years on from the Alliance angle, so I'm actually amazed that they're still together. You think the Hardy Boys had a breakup after like 2 or 3 years. Edge and Christian were done after the years. Even the Dudley Boys pissed off, but even they eventually split, and Buddy Ray had his own thing. They had the brand split before this as well. APA's still going. You know, they never really had any dissension. Although we are, you know, soon to see Mr. Bradshaw break out of his own accord.
A lot of that really was down to Ron Simmons' age and kind of that counting against him, and he was coming towards the end, wasn't it? So they kind of, just a natural thing more than anything.
Yeah, but I was disappointed because do you know what? This match is fine. It's not terrible by any means. But the problem with this match is it's not a pay-per-view match. I watched this match and I immediately thought, this belongs on the mid-card of SmackDown at best. This is a TV match.
Yeah.
And I want to see Shelton Benjamin in full flight. And instead, he's kind of having to brawl with Ron Simmons. And that is not a good position. And I know that if you're a great wrestler, if you're a great talent, you should be able to work with everybody. And they weren't terrible by any means, but this is a throwaway match. I don't care. Shelton Benjamin gets a win with a fairly weak-looking kick. And the only real storyline of any note is the fact that Bradshaw's obviously his right arm's done in. You know, his right arm's done in. Can't do, and he still gives a whopper clothesline from hell to Charlie Haas anyway. But the good selling for now is, it hurts. And then Benjamin's like, haha, I shall take advantage of this and then roll you up. It's like, okay, cool. I don't care. What's this doing? Yeah. Why is this on pay-per-view? That's the problem. It's almost like... And also, when you think the opening match was for the tag titles, APA and the world's greatest tag team are not involved in that rivalry at all. That's a problem. It's a big
The
fucking problem.
Bashams.
The Bashams. But the Bashams are money. Ron Simmons isn't money because he's black. What the only black I like is Dominatrix Shaniqua. And
It's just this whole match was just boring. And it was based on a rivalry that had started the previous Thursday on whatever day SmackDown was on at this point. It was a 4-day rivalry that's made it to pay-per-view, and it's fucking shit. It's stupid, and there's a lot of this. And when you think that this is a brand exclusive pay-per-view, the fact that you've got multiple rivalries that are like 1 week old or less than a week old going into a pay-per-view is just inexcusable. You've got like a month to build to your pay-per-view, and you've only got to build it across. You can dedicate your whole show to building towards this one pay-per-view, and they fucked that up. Like, Jesus Christ. Bad booking has been a thing in WWE for quite some time.
It really has. There's nothing wrong with this one. I gave it 2 stars. Not because it's terrible. I mean, 2 stars isn't horrific, I suppose.
No,
not
the wrestling is fine.
But it's TV. It's a
Okay.
TV match. There's nothing really of note to speak of. This is the kind of match that people listening will understand. You know, when you watch Raw and a match comes on, you think, oh, fuck off, I've seen that. And you just fast forward it immediately.
Yeah,
And you don't watch. This is that match. This is that match. And that's disappointing because this is the infancy of Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas. I think they just got away from Team Angle, and they're now just the world's greatest tag team, which really actually hurt them quite badly because they were so much more prominent when they were Kurt Angle's boys. And yeah, they never really
They are the B team coming away from the Miz.
Exactly. We're building towards Shelton Benjamin becoming a singles wrestler later down the line, but it looks like we're a little bit early for that. So, and Shelton Benjamin never really took off as much as we want to act as if he's this world-class wrestler, which he kind of is. But
oh yeah, he's the one. You can argue that no one has had the ball dropped on them more than Shelton Benjamin with his level of talent and athleticism. Like
he's
he
still hard
came through that class. Yeah, he came through that class with Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Randy Orton, Batista, and he's, the only black guy gets lost in the shuffle, imagine. But he's the one who got lost in the shuffle. But he was the one who was, helping to train Brock Lesnar, as Shelton Benjamin said on Raw the other week. He was the guy that was out there in training with him, wrestling circles around him, because he's a legit top athlete. But it's WWE, so nope, fuck you, tag team.
Fuck yourselves. There's a lot of TV bollocks on this stuff. I felt, a lot of this is all TV stuff, and here we go with some more TV shenanigans. Goldberg turns up, he's in the front row. That, of course, brings out Paul Heyman, who has this amazing look of, disbelievement on him. He's so good at facial acting, Paul Heyman.
What are you doing here?
He had already been he's screaming at the top of his voice. Then Brock Lesnar kind of saunters down quietly, which is a bit strange. Just ambles out. And he's like, just kind of like, man, what's going on here? He just kind of floats out. And the whole thing is goading Goldberg into the ring so that they can sort of, because as soon as he gets in the ring, he's no longer a fan. He's a participating invader, so to speak. So they can obviously, send the terrible security his way, which, by the way, 2 seconds was embarrassing.
It was a midget and a pensioner that come out and arrested Bill Goldberg. It was fucking amazing.
And he just gave himself up as well because he'd already.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair cop, lads.
Yeah, it just didn't belong here, really. I don't understand why they didn't just have. I think it was because they had to find a way so that, because Goldberg was probably like, I'm not sitting through this whole shit for 2 hours for my main event moment. So they probably had to find a way of removing him, and which is fine. But yeah, just kind of pointless. The only thing I liked about this segment was it showed a sense of reality, because why would Paul Heyman in his right mind just allow him to just sit there and then just carry on with the show? Yeah. He would want him out of it. He'd be like, no, I don't want you around here. You speared me last week on SmackDown, you cunt. I'm going to have words with you. So, it's fine. It's all building to this little premise. I think in Vince's eyes, Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg was the big money match that everyone wanted. And it, we're going to cover this later down the line. It ends up being a bit of a bust. But it's storytelling. And to be fair, they put a lot of effort into Goldberg versus Lesnar. And the ironic thing is, the people who didn't were Goldberg and Brock Lesnar. They were the people who didn't want to put any effort in because they were both fucking off. And they knew full well they were as well. Goldberg only had a year's contract, which begun last year in 2003, just after Mania. And of course, you know, he wrestled The Rock, which was great. And then he was like, oh, nobody cares anymore. And Brock Lesnar was coming to the end of it. He kind of lost his passion for wrestling. He had one world-class match left in him. And yeah, we didn't get it at WrestleMania. We got it here. So it is what it is. But, you know, it's a nice little segment. It's a warm-up. But again, it felt like TV stuff. You know, this felt like something that should have been on SmackDown. So for me, I wasn't overly bothered. And speaking of not being overly bothered, holy cow. So I'm thinking, oh, Jesus, Hardcore Holly's still a thing, because he comes running down to get Lesnar's like, oh, run away, it's Hardcore Holly. I don't know why I'm scared of him, but I am. It's like, he just runs away from Hardcore Holly, and then we're treated to about 10 minutes of Hardcore Holly versus Rhino. Thank you very much.
A match made on Sunday Night Heat. This is how much ferocious rivalry.
You mentioned that about the tag team match. The first line, right, that is made by Michael Cole, and this is where I thought, well, I'm obviously going to be alarmed. Michael Cole says, this rivalry was born out of last week on SmackDown. That was 3 days ago.
Yeah.
You bet. No, fuck you. This is the last pay-per-view before WrestleMania. This is the road to WrestleMania. And I know that this pay-per-view is famous for one beautiful moment, but actually, fuck all else is going on. And I'm a little bit pissed off with this. I'm like, how? How is that like a thing? Like, what are you? Why? Why is
so
this match
bad?
on?
This match is so bad. They throw to the Spanish commentary in the middle and just let the Spanish commentators talk for a bit. It was so shit. Like, let's listen to what the Spanish people are saying, and they're always saying, "This is fucking shit. What are we doing? Fuck WWE. Fuck you, Vince McMahon. Fuck Rhino." It's Bob wins with an Alabama slam as well. He usually uses the Falcon Arrow, but he's using the Alabama slam as his finisher. Oh, no. You know when it's like, it just doesn't even look good. It's fucking spine buster.
Also completely shit on poor Rhino's gore as well, which wound me up no end. I was like, what? What's the point in that?
It was just shit. And it was one of them where they were making Bob Holly look strong. Now, you know, as we watch pay-per-views back and my memory is further jogged, I may be proved wrong. But I don't remember them making Bob Holly look strong, like going into the Royal Rumble, having a competitive match with Brock Lesnar, and then, you know, having, you know, a win against Rhino at No Way Out. Like, but what happened? Like, where did he go to after that? Like, where was the Bob Holly push his destination? Like, it was just so weird.
I'll tell you where. The hardcore title. No, even that's gone at this point.
Not even the hardcore title left.
Fucking state of it. Hardcore Holly versus Rhino. And completely, it's so frustrating. You know, how much did we bang on about how great it was to watch that, you know, the rise of Rhino, so to speak, and how Rhino was kind of really underrated. One
of the breakouts in the Invasion era.
Away on Hardcore Holly, and they waste his gore as well. They didn't protect the gore either. He hits the gore, and Hardcore Holly kind of falls out and then recovers, you know, and then he beats the count, gets back in, and hits an Alabama. So that was their way of saying, oh, well, this way Rhino gets his finisher in, and he still looks quite strong. No. Pathetic. Shouldn't be on this. Fuck this match. Go away. I think I gave it 1.5 stars.
Too long as well.
Yeah,
so, it was just a filler.
Well, my summary, I'll try and summarize each match, and I've written down here, pointless and boring, bit like Holly's career, 2 out of 5.
Yeah, I mean, just piss break match. This is just so fucking shit that they've done the Spanish commentary. Yeah, that's my fucking notes. It's just it was a piss break filler match going into another match which is going to be really, really good. But before we get to that match, we need something to tease you. We need to tickle your taste buds with the possibility of The Undertaker returning. And we're going to do a little vignette saying he's back in 25 days or whatever, which obviously coincides with WrestleMania.
28 days, which apparently, by Michael Cole's calculations, is right around WrestleMania. Fuck you, Michael Cole.
He's actually coming back at Sunday Night Heat.
That'd be amazing if he came back the night before and he was, oh shit, I'm early. It's like,
who did these graphics? Fuck you.
He's got some exclusive footage on WWE.com and he's just stood there by himself like, hey, there's no one here. Well, fuck
Turning
you
up to the arena with the ring crew, just like, hang on a minute.
Fucking brilliant. Put the ring up, you scrub. Yeah, Undertaker's coming. We'll build more to that. We saw, of course, the first teaser of this at the Royal Rumble where the gong went off during Kane's domination in the Rumble. That, of course, led to Kane being eliminated. And the whole idea is that the Undertaker is coming back. The dead will rise again. And, of course, he was buried alive. So how could he possibly rise again? Perhaps he'll come back as a different persona. Who knows? We'll find out next month. But there's no Kane here, which makes it very jarring. Kane's on Raw. He's not on SmackDown.
Yeah, it's just a platform because Undertaker has generally been associated with SmackDown, hasn't he? Really? So
it'd be pretty funny if he came down and beat the shit out of the Cruiserweight. It was like, I just fuck you, just beat the shit out of him. It'd be absolutely amazing. The combat, but yeah, it kind of is a bit jarring, but it interrupts. It's a cool graphic. It's not needed. Yeah. There is no Kane or Undertaker on this brand. Nobody cares about that. Well, people care about it, but they're not watching SmackDown for it. It's as simple as that. However, the Cruiserweight Championship match is here, and it's here to rescue the pay-per-view. It's Rey Mysterio defending his Cruiserweight title against Chavo Guerrero with Chavo Sr., and Rey Mysterio is brought back up in the form of Jorge Paez. Now, I was ready to rip this guy to shreds, but it actually turns out he's a bit of a fucking legend, especially in Mexico. Former two-time heavyweight world boxing champion. Like, he is a legitimate star. He's won 79 fights as well. He's not some scrub. He doesn't have the Jake Hager style record on him. Like, he is legitimately one of Mexico's all-time greats. One of his sons is currently the junior intercontinental IBF champion and all this. So there's a lot there. There's a lot to
However,
yes, he's legit. Although he's
all of that stuff is fine, but I have a problem with his hair because it looks like, you know, Brazilian Ronaldo had that hair in the 2002 World Cup, the fucking triangle on his head. And Paez has got that hair, but it's like Ronaldo's hair's grown up and moved to Mexico. Like, it's aged a couple of years because it's a bit longer, and he's just fucking rocked up, gone to Mexico, and moved on to Hugo Paez's fucking head. It's ridiculous. Shocking hair, mate, but also don't knock me out.
Please don't kill me, bruv. This is a great match. It's a little long, and there's a little bit of a lull in it at times, but overall, it's a great match. It's easily the match of the night so far. And Rey Mysterio and Chavo Guerrero. I love the promo as well. I really like the way, like, Eddie Guerrero's been knocked out. What the hell's happened? Of course, Rey Mysterio was like, oh my God, Eddie, what's going on? And then Chavo was like, whoa, we didn't have anything to do with that. Because him and Cena are coming. I actually really like this. This was a great transitional moment because Eddie Guerrero gets, he gives Chavo Guerrero what he deserves at the last show, which we, of course, covered. And then you're thinking, well, Eddie's got to move on to the title, which he does. So the next night after the Royal Rumble, which I should fill in the gaps, by the way, which will help with the main event as well, they had a Royal Rumble of their own, the only one to ever take place outside of the Royal Rumble, should be pointed out. And this Royal Rumble, actually, no, that's not technically true. There was one on Raw, actually, in 99, which China won to determine the number 30 position for the 99 Royal Rumble. But this is the only other one, I believe, to take place. And this was a full legitimate Royal Rumble, it was only 20 men, I believe, and it was put on SmackDown 2 days afterwards. Obviously, it was taped after the Royal Rumble, and Eddie Guerrero won it. So, of course, with Eddie Guerrero winning it, which was a big deal in its own right, they needed to obviously move Chavo Guerrero along. And this is a perfect ready-made rivalry. So I really like this as well, because there's a lot of Latin flair on this show. And this is something sorely lacking now. They don't really want to push Andrade and Sin Cara. It's almost like, here you go, you guys can have the 10-minute Mexican moment. Whereas there's a real Latin flair for things. And Paul Heyman's in charge of SmackDown at this point. This is part of that Super SmackDown 6 era still. We've still got that wonderful era where Edge and Chavo Guerrero and Eddie and all these guys were doing Soe and Kurt Angle and all these guys. And all of a sudden Raw was starting to appeal for talent. Hence, there is no Chris Benoit anymore. He's gone to Raw because Raw just thought, fuck it, we'll have him. He's good. Fuck you, Paul Heyman. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the match. I really like the story behind it. Not a huge fan of Chavo Sr. He just seems like comical, greasy, old Mexican guy, but he does have credibility. I mean, he is part of the Guerrero family, and as everybody knows, they are big business, very big business in the wrestling family, and always have been. And I like the match. There was also some nice little callbacks in this match that people wouldn't have noticed. Michael Cole certainly didn't call it. Chavo Guerrero does the gory special and the gory bomb on Rey Mysterio, which of course their father made famous, who's Gory Guerrero is like one of the most famous representations of the Guerrero family. There was some really great callbacks to that. Obviously, Rey Mysterio is obviously very popular within the Mexican wrestling community, and especially the Guerrero family. You all know what it meant to him when Eddie passed away and all these kind of things. So I really liked it. Really loved the amalgamation of everything. Thought it was a great match, very technical in places, but also very high-flying in others. Some people might be a bit jarred because Chavo Guerrero is a very ground-based mat technician, and Rey Mysterio is obviously flippy-doo, midget, or the jumping bean, as he's called by Chavo Guerrero, which I always quite funny. And of course, you've got Paez, who picks up his paycheck, comes down, smacks. I like how he gets ejected for beating up Chavo Senior. Like, he's not actually really interjected himself into the match, so he doesn't really need to be. But I kind of understand why they've done it anyway. And yeah, it was a lovely match actually. I really enjoyed it. It reminded me of something as well. Cruiserweights can draw, man. They can draw. The crowd were impressed. They were interested in this match. They were intrigued. I know a lot of that's down to Rey Mysterio because he's larger than life. But I liked it. I really liked it. And I think this showed to me why things like the Cruiserweight title belong and have a place on the main roster.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good match. Some really innovative spots. It was one of those matches, it's not ahead of its time because this wrestling's been going on for a long time. But in terms of having it in a prominent WWE pay-per-view or in a prominent position on a WWE pay-per-view, this kind of match didn't really get that. We might get a Japanese style, Taka Michinoku taking on someone in like 1997 on Raw or whatever. But in terms of just a really good technical and high-flying match, it was still quite weird to see it in this era, even with Rey Mysterio, because they loved shoving Rey Mysterio against someone massive to tell an underdog story. So it was cool with him being in the Cruiserweight division. It's like really good memories, actually. And him and Chavo obviously kind of had a lot of great matches back in WCW as well. So it was awesome for them to rekindle that in a lot of ways. It was really good match. As you say, it was one that made a reasonable amount of sense without having to do too much story-wise, to move both guys on. And Chavo picks up the Cruiserweight title as well. So, we've got a new Cruiserweight champion. It sets Ray up to do some, whatever he wants going forward. And, keeps the Cruiserweight title on someone with a lot of credibility. I thought it was really, really good. It was, if it wasn't for the main event being what it was, this would be my match of the night. And if they had this match, on Full Gear, if you put this exact match on Full Gear or any other AEW pay-per-view or AEW show, it wouldn't look out of place. It wouldn't look like, oh, hang on, what's going on here? This is, that indie-tastic style. Really cool.
Mm. Yeah, I gave it 3.5 out of 5, not because it was average by any means. I would have given it 4, but I feel like once you get into 4, you get into worldy territory. So I wanted to kind of.
It was just slightly a bit too long. That was my.
It's kind of like a 3.8, 3.9. It's that kind of feeling. Yeah. But I gave it 3.5. I didn't want to be too convoluted like Meltzer can be. I thought it was fine. I thought it was great. I think, like Steve says, great stuff. Interesting little promo afterwards as well, where they're outside Eddie Guerrero's locker room, and he's like, "Oh, this guy's a loser. He's an addict. He's addicted. He won't be able to win the big one." And weirdly enough, Eddie Guerrero's locker room door seems to be attached to a golf cart garage. I don't know if the idea was, aha, he's Mexican, so he's got a golf cart and all these kind of things, or if it just happened to be there. But nonetheless, it is there, and yeah, he just cuts his random promo, and I thought it was a bit weird that Eddie Guerrero didn't just come out and smack him around the face and shut the fuck up. That's probably would have been quite funny, but he's on to bigger and better things, and they probably thought it would look a bit Bush League if he attacked the Cruiserweight champion. Triple threat, WWE title number 1 contenders match. Big Show, Kurt Angle, John Cena. I've seen this before. I'm pretty sure I've seen this before, and I've definitely seen it again now. Actually, I believe when Kurt Angle returned, do you remember he obviously had his neck injury after WrestleMania 19? He went away to get his surgery done, and when he came back, they had everyone remembers it as the Coldplay moment where he was playing Coldplay clocks on his on his weird kind of vignettes, and he came back, and I'm pretty sure he had this same triple threat or something similar to this. Big Show seems to find his way into these triple threat matches. We covered Cyber Sunday, didn't we, where he was in that?
Yeah.
Pre-way he was with John Cena was in that one as well. Yeah, and you think, oh, okay. This match is fine.
Yeah, fine.
All it is. It's fine. I didn't feel like, this is weird, right? This is a big, big match, at least in terms of storytelling. You're looking at this and you think, okay, so we've got this big matchup with, the 3 biggest stars outside of the main event, and they're going after number 1. And of course, the winner of this is going to headline WrestleMania for SmackDown. So it's quite a big fucking deal.
Mm.
And it didn't feel like a big deal.
No.
It wasn't a bad match by him. It just felt like a main event.
It felt thrown together, didn't it?
The story isn't great. Big Show at this point is pretty bad. Like
the thing is, he looks in quite decent shape actually at this point. Like he's not too bad around the middle. Like, you know, he's looking in okay shape. And they're building him as this big monster. Like, you know, in the Royal Rumble, he has that massive turn where he just dicks everyone for a bit. And again, the same in this match. The way it starts out, he's just smashing everyone up. Like, they really are trying to get back to building him as a monster. But as always, he's the monster that never really gets the job done. That's just his role. And he's weirdly the US champion as well. Like, mid-card champion thrown in as well. Just for like,
watch next to him.
It's just odd having him in this match. It didn't feel like it needed him, but, you know, they could have dropped, well, one of about 4 matches on this pay-per-view and had Big Show defend his, you know, US title and have him in a singles match and have someone else in this triple threat. Whatever, they threw him out there. It just felt shoehorned in, really.
Yeah, I had a hard time enjoying this match. I did.
Yeah.
I just kind of thought, this is a bit tedious. One thing I did enjoy, which I know you didn't, was John Cena's rap on the way to the ring, which was fucking amazing. My favourite line for this is when he goes, "Yo, this ain't no freeway dance. This is me serving 2 bitches." I was like, yeah, fucking bitches. I thought it was great. I thought it was really funny. I was like, oh, John, go again, mate. Fucking talking about limp dicks and gay people. Yeah. It's just, I don't know why I find him hilarious. Oh, he's great fun. He's absolutely money for me. He's so entertaining. Like, oh, he's so funny. He's just, and I knew it would trigger you as well.
I enjoyed him tapping out to the ankle lock very much.
That's very jarring as well, though, because that just came out.
Yeah, I know.
Fuck you, Big Show. Tap out, meh. Oh, okay, thanks. Bye. We're done for the evening now. That's fair.
So it was like, again, they're protecting Big Show because Big Show's got to look strong. I don't really know what for, but Big Show's got to look strong. But it's also weird seeing John Cena tap out because obviously as his career progresses and he's big match John, he doesn't lose and he certainly doesn't tap out. So
I believe this is the last time he does tap out.
Probably, yeah. That sounds about right.
It was on a source. I can't guarantee that it's like the perfect source, but what I did read said that this was his last ever tap out. So until sort of modern era. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's quite jarring to see it.
Yeah, there is a desperation to protect people like, you know, John Cena or main eventers in general. I mean, there's no shame, of course. Kurt Angle taps out everybody. Kurt Angle infamously was the first guy to ever tap out The Undertaker. So, you know,
probably the only person, is he? Did Brock tap out once?
Yeah, I was going to say, I've never seen Undertaker tap out. Actually, no, I didn't see CM Punk make him tap out, but it was quite contentious. Like, it was sort of like he made him tap out, but after he kind of hit him with something and people were a bit like...
Yeah, like the ref didn't see or one of those things. Yeah, probably.
It's, yeah, it's just, it's a cool image to see John Cena tap out, but this match just felt so meh.
Yeah, I mean, it's decent. It's not like, oh, it's bad wrestling or anything like that. They all do a fine job. You just don't care.
Can they lift the Big Show? We've seen it done. Like, that's the other thing as well that really annoys me, because I know what Big Show and John Cena do at WrestleMania. And, you know, John Cena should be spunking away a moment like, you know, he gives him the FU. That's quite impressive. That's really impressive. But he does it all the time. And it loses. And this is where I kind of put my old man shouts at Cloud Wrestling hat on, because I think you got such a great money spot there. This huge spot. A bit like when, you know, Lesnar used to F5 the Big Show. But the problem is he did it like 16 times and nobody cared.
Yeah.
You know, when you've got a big money moment like that, a big move like that, that's one thing I have to give someone like Randy Orton credit for. You remember when he gave Seth Rollins that insane RKO at WrestleMania 31? That was an amazing moment that he's only ever done once. He always saves his greatest and grandest RKOs for the big spotlight. And here we are, spunking away once again, this big FU moment. I don't know, it just disappointed me. This was my angry old grumpy man sort of moment. But
it is that thing of, if Hulk Hogan slammed Andre the Giant 53 times, then that moment at WrestleMania wouldn't mean anything. You know? And that's, you know, Big Show is supposed to have been the Andre, you know, the next Andre the Giant, but the bloke got thrown around left, right, and centre by everyone. Like, everyone got their moves in on Big Show. And, okay, big guy selling is quite cool and something different, you know, that's fine. But, yeah, that big spot where everyone goes, holy shit, it really lost it. You didn't have any intrigue, particularly in the match, because you knew, but John can hit his finisher. It's not like there's a real struggle there, particularly. Like, he'll just crack a finisher out, not a problem. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. Yeah, I just watched it. I gave it 3.5 because it was a fine match and it kind of deserved, anything with Kurt Angle. And obviously, John Cena's rapping is worth at least 2 stars by itself. But triggered. It's so good. It's so good. You're appreciated when he's dead.
I bet you like fucking Macklemore, don't you? I bet you're a big fucking Macklemore fan.
No. When it comes to actual rap, I'm an Ice Cube man. I love NWA. I went to see Cypress Hill. Come on, I know my shit when it comes to rap. I just like it. The funny thing is, I hated him. I hated him then, but I don't hate him now. And you know why? Because I've had 20 years of crap. So now I'm seeing something fresh again. Ooh, he's different, and he wrestles, and he does a DDT. I like this John Cena. He's satisfactory to me, which makes him worldy. As far as I can. He could be. He's basically Okada at this point to me. I'm like,
Mate, if Okada comes out as the Doctor of Thugonomics, I'm gonna pop my ass off. I'm not gonna lie.
If there's one man I would have liked to see in Okada wrestle, it was probably Eddie Guerrero. Because that would have been fucking incredible. And segue, because here we are for the main event. For the WWE Championship, we know that Kurt Angle will be one half of the WrestleMania main event. Who will be in the other half? Eddie Guerrero challenges Brock Lesnar for the WWE title. Everybody knows. Everybody knows what happens. You all know. You're all listening. You're probably only listening to the podcast just so we can talk about this moment. I have a fantastic announcement to make. This, for me, is Brock Lesnar's greatest ever match in WWE. I have not seen him have a match of this level anywhere else. He's had some good matches. I thought his match with CM Punk was fantastic. I've seen him have a very good match with someone like a Finn Balor. He had a good match with Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles as well, but nothing on this level, especially psychologically. And obviously a lot of this is down to Eddie Guerrero. I'm not saying that Brock Lesnar led this match by any means. You can see Eddie Guerrero communicating with him, but I'm surprised by the length of this match as well. They really went for the full whack. And Brock Lesnar's a machine at this point. He looks great. Full suplexes. Yeah, the rest holds didn't even jar me. I thought they were rightfully in a good place, It was a case of Eddie Guerrero build up some steam and then Brock Lesnar had to cut him off. And he'd hit him with a suplex and cut him off by downing him. I liked it. It's very cerebral, this match. I like the psychology of it. This was a masterpiece in storytelling. And it's beautiful because, it's like, I've beaten up my family. I've got to this point. You're not wrestling Eddie Guerrero. You're wrestling Latino heat, and this is my one chance to get out. And they really hype the fact that I used to do drugs. I used to abuse steroids and things like that. I was in a bad place. I got arrested. I got removed from the company. He was released from the company in 2001 and did a stint on the indies, and at that point he wrestled a young CM Punk at IWA Mid-South, I believe, during this period, which just sums it up really. And here is Eddie Guerrero on the main stage. This is main event Eddie Guerrero for the first ever time. He'd never been a main eventer up until this point, and here is Eddie Guerrero going after the WWE title, and everything feels so emotional. And I'll tell you what, the crowd really made this, because I didn't think the crowd were that invested in the show as a whole until we got to this point, and then all of a sudden everybody is just a little bit more rampant, and the crowd want it, and they want it badly. And I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's beautiful, and to this day it's still really, really tears me up seeing Eddie Guerrero claim the WWE title for the first and only time in his career. It is a beautiful moment, not just everyone knows about him jumping in the crowd and then hugging his mother and his family being at ringside and stuff like that. That's beautiful. We all love those moments, but it's remembering just how much Brock Lesnar could be asked at times. Remembering just how good the psychology of this match was, and this is the match where you need to go back and watch the whole thing. People have seen Eddie Guerrero win the title, and I see people on Twitter all the time, I miss you, Eddie, and they just replay that moment. But nobody's really taken in just how special a storyteller he is. No one's taken in what he used to do psychologically, the work rate, the effort, the stories told. He'd go out there with someone like Ken Anderson, or a D'Lo Brown or something like that, and he'd have like a 15-20 minute match, and it would be compelling and interesting, and psychologically the storytelling would just jump out at you through the screen. You'd be lured in. My mum hates wrestling, right? Anyone who knows me knows that my mum is a very uptight, miserable person who hates wrestling. And she always says that she used to love watching Eddie Guerrero wrestle. What does that say about Eddie Guerrero as a person, that you can draw someone like that in and make them invested? She used to say, "Oh, he looked like he was having so much fun. He looked so happy." She was actually upset when he passed away. We all were, obviously, but the fact that casuals would watch this guy and they would feel all that joy emanating from him. This pay-per-view is about Eddie Guerrero's legacy. This pay-per-view, this year is about Eddie Guerrero's legacy for a lot of us, and that's one of the big reasons why we're covering it, not just because of the age of one. And this match is the height of Eddie Guerrero. I think he has better title matches. I'm so excited to see him wrestle Kurt Angle at WrestleMania again, because I remember that being a world-class match, and they had quite a good rivalry after that. But this is the pinnacle for him to be able to knock it off. And of course, I'm missing out the point that Goldberg interferes. He does. He comes out and he spears it. But what I liked about that was the fact that wasn't it. That was just a shot from Goldberg to say, "Fuck you, bitch. I'll see you at Mania." But the match continues. Lesnar kicks out, and then Eddie Guerrero does his thing. Oh, he's like, "Yeah, I don't mind cheating a little bit. I don't mind getting a little bit froggy." All those kind of things Eddie Guerrero did so beautifully. And this is perfection in this one moment. It's so beautiful, and because of that, and because of the emotion around it, because of the storytelling, because of that, it's, for me, I'm giving it 5 stars. I'm surprised WWE this didn't garner 5 stars from Meltzer. I believe this to be 5 stars. I believe this to be beautiful. It's not necessarily the perfect match in terms of technicality, although it's fucking great, but it is in terms of everything it delivers. And from what I've seen from 5-star ratings as a whole, they normally tend to be given to huge marquee matchups. For instance, the first ever Hell in a Cell got one. That's not technically supreme, but it's a beautiful match for many reasons. I think that everything needs to amalgamate. I don't think it needs to be the perfect technical match, but it needs to have everything at such a high level that it can be undisputed. And this is undisputed for me. And seeing Eddie Guerrero win the title, I can watch it 50 times over and I'll be a gibbering mess by the end of it. It's beautiful. I'll never, ever, ever, I think, in my whole life, see anyone deserve to win a title more than Eddie Guerrero did. And I don't think I ever feel as emotionally invested and so happy to see someone achieve their dreams as I did when I saw Eddie Guerrero win the WWE title from Brock Lesnar.
Brilliant match. It's, you mentioned about kind of, when Brock could be asked and all that, when this was Brock Lesnar with a gas tank. This was Brock Lesnar with the stamina reserves, who really was that freak athlete. But this was when Brock wrestled like a wrestler, whereas now he wrestles, and I understand why, but he wrestles like an MMA guy who can do Germans, which obviously has to do with his UFC kind of background since this match. So I understand the shift in styles to make it more kind of believable and more of a, crossover to those MMA fans. But this is when he wrestled like a wrestler, and it was fantastic as a result of that. There was a spot where Brock goes for the F5 and Eddie reverses it into a tornado DDT, which is just brilliant. It's just really, really good. Really sold well. And it was just, everything was done in the right proportions with this match, because you had the Goldberg interference and shenanigans, but it wasn't decisive. Eddie didn't win because, Goldberg hit the spear, because Brock then kicked out after Eddie did manage to cover it. So it keeps Brock looking strong. It keeps the intrigue there for Brock versus Goldberg at WrestleMania. And, Eddie still has to find another way of getting it done. A little bit of cheating, but not too much. Again, wasn't decisive. He finishes with his finisher, which is really, really cool, particularly over someone like Brock Lesnar. It was just, everything was done exactly right. Perfectly booked match. This wasn't overproduced. You didn't have Chavo and his dad running down to get involved to try and cost Eddie or any of that kind of shit. You didn't have Kurt Angle trying to get involved. A little bit of Goldberg stuff to set up for WrestleMania, but not too much. And it was just done right. Really, really well booked. Yeah, I agree with you. I love it. It's one of, the probably looking back, is this maybe going to be the one that we look back on when we've completed our roundup of the pay-per-views of 2004? I think this will be the one that we look back on and say that this is arguably the match of the year. We have a lot of fantastic matches and feuds to go through in 2004, but this is, and particularly with the historical significance, with everything that's happened, with Eddie following that, it's it's just such a pure moment in wrestling, and one that we can look back on and treasure for all time. So yeah, absolutely loved it. Kudos to everyone involved. Really, really cool as well to see this Brock Lesnar that we'll never see again. Age, illness, injuries, all those things have taken their toll, and he has to be different because of the MMA stuff now. But this Brock Lesnar is a reminder that, especially when he was motivated, and we know this is towards the end of his run, there was very few people, if anyone, better. He was an absolute machine. So what a match, and what a kind of ending to this pay-per-view this match served to be. Awesome.
Yeah, the picture perfect moment in Eddie Guerrero's career. And the only solace in Eddie not being here anymore is knowing that he was able to climb the mountain in the most beautiful way. And then there's that, obviously, there's more magical moments to come and more iconic images, but none more so than him standing on that announce table with his Latin heritage in the flag in one hand and the WWE title in another, and him doing his little Latin shimmy and just the joy emanating from his face. Nobody looked happier to be a wrestler than Eddie Guerrero. He is considered one of the greatest, if not the greatest wrestler of all time for that exact reason, because nobody loved that job more than him. And what a representation of just wrestling as a whole and the Latin culture. He was an incredible legend and always will be. And I hope he rests well for all eternity, and his legend lives for all eternity, because it deserves to, more so than anyone else who's departed. Awesome. Such an awesome moment that it made this pay-per-view great. I felt disappointed as a whole from No Way Out. This was a good argument for not having a brand split, this show. And it also showed that Paul Heyman was great, but he could not polish a turd. It's well documented, actually, if you listen back to Paul Heyman on commentary, if you listen back to him in podcasts and other sources, that he was stitched a lot by Stephanie McMahon, who was in creative control of Raw for a lot of it. And Raw kept raiding stars. And there was this very famous moment where they sat down, they laughed at Paul Heyman because he said, I want Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle, and I want Edge, and I want Chavo Guerrero and all these guys on my show. And they laughed at him. He says, they openly laughed at him. It's like, you can have Chris Benoit. Nobody cares about Chris Benoit. And then, of course, they put, obviously, Chris Benoit is a SmackDown star. But of course, because of his Rumble win, he ends up shifting to Raw and going after Triple H, which is what you would not have seen as covered, of course, because that's what happens after Rumble. And that's why they had that Royal Rumble. It was like, oh, well, fuck you then, Chris Benoit. He jumped ship and he ends up on Raw. And because of that, Eddie Guerrero is able to step in the fight. The ironic thing is that, so Paul Heyman built Chris Benoit to a point where he felt like a main event star. And then when he was gone, he built Eddie Guerrero the same way. And it's something that people forget, is that actually Paul Heyman had a huge part and a huge role in playing in these magical moments that we all forget. Nobody ever mentions the fact that Paul Heyman was in creative control of both of these guys for their big runs. He was the guy who helped build them up. And we're going to see that because the next show is, of course, the granddaddy of them all, WrestleMania 20 from Madison Square Garden. And, that's going to be great in its own right. But I didn't like No Way Out. You could see that Paul Heyman was really struggling. Jericho had jumped ship. So many people had jumped ship at this point. And he was left with some decent stars, to be fair. You got Eddie Guerrero, you got Brock Lesnar, you got Kurt Angle. But you could see the guys he did have were placed in the main event and everybody else was kind of... But the one thing he did have was the Cruiserweight Championship. And once again, he wasn't afraid to put that in a prominent position, whereas somebody else wouldn't have. I can guarantee you if Vince was in control, that Cruiserweight title would have been on Jamie Noble for 2 or 3 years. He would have wrestled Brian Kendrick on fucking Sunday Night Heat, and that would have been it. But Paul Heyman was like, Rey Mysterio is a world-class wrestler. And if he's going to be Cruiserweight champion, I'm going to make sure that he defends it against great wrestlers. And Chavo Guerrero, whether we like it or not, is a great wrestler. And a decent character as well, though his music's still a state. And I think the strengths of this show, the Cruiserweight Championship, the WWE title, the real marquee value of the number one contenders, that helps you forget about the garbage, the crap, Hardcore Holly versus Rhino should not be on a pay-per-view. World's Greatest Tag Team are great, but they should not be against APA and they should not be on a pay-per-view. And we sure as hell shouldn't be having an amalgamation of Too Cool versus two skinheads and a dominatrix as your opener. But It is what it is. But the great
Where's
thing,
Lance Storm when you need him?
God damn it, Lance Storm, get out here and make me some money. He's there's so many good wrestlers poking around. I know Lance Storm was still in the company at this point, so I want an explanation. Yeah, there's some crap. There is some crap, and for anyone who's going to be watching this back, maybe fast forward that stuff. But watch the main event, watch the Cruiserweight title match, even watch the One Contenders match, just because you get to see Thugonomics John Cena. And if like me, you hate John Cena's current gimmick, then you'll probably get a bit of enjoyment out of that too. Yeah, all in all, very good actually. Thought it was really fun. I didn't like certain matches, but they didn't detract from my happiness as much. Other shows, I feel like if you watch this, you wouldn't have had that huge moment like Eddie Guerrero winning the title, and I think that would have detracted from it. But all in all, I thought it was a good show. Not a worldie by any means. I've given it 3.5 out of 5 as an overall show. I thought it was about the same as the Rumble for quality, just because the Rumble match was great, but it does have that 5-star match in it. But I felt it would be disingenuous to give it 4 or 4.5 based on just the one match, because the rest of the card is very lackluster other than the Cruiserweight title. Even the number one contendership match for me is a bit tedious despite being a decent match. But yeah, all in all, good stuff. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, it is. Overall, it's a decent show. Again, it's just the problem that outside, we're obviously well outside of the Attitude Era now. We're in the Ruthless Aggression era. And this is already a time when WWE are kind of killing off its undercard guys in a lot of ways. Like, okay, Chavo and Eddie were doing some really good stuff going into their match at Royal Rumble. And obviously with what obviously it's led to at No Way Out with both guys capturing titles was great. But the rest of that undercard, like Bob Holly was wrestling for the WWE title at the Royal Rumble against Brock Lesnar, and now he's beating Rhino. Like, we don't care about either of these guys. And as I said, there is no excuse to not build properly all of the rivalries into this. One of the best built rivalries of this show is Nidia fucking taking on Jamie Noble, and that's ridiculous. Like, that shouldn't be one of your best built stories going into a pay-per-view in what is, it's ultimately a comedy match. So that kind of summed up a lot of what was wrong with this pay-per-view. And I'm sure as the time goes on, a lot of what is wrong with this era. And obviously, as we do Raw pay-per-views and we see, some of the marquee talent that's there in comparison to what you have on SmackDown, that will become increasingly apparent as the year goes along. Obviously, The Undertaker's return will help that a bit in balancing the scales. But good pay-per-view. It's one of those where it needed that finish. You could afford to an extent the shit because you got the finish, you got the payoff and the reward at the end. So that kind of excused it. If you hadn't, as you say, if you hadn't have had that payoff, if Brock had won, or you hadn't had that match on the card and the main event had been a triple threat, for instance, then you would look at it and say this was a 2.5-star pay-per-view because it was just fine, But because you had that finish, it does elevate the show overall, and it makes it worthwhile. You're happy to have sat through the crap in hindsight because you've got that reward at the end for your perseverance. So, but as you say, next up, WrestleMania, and this carries on being a series of firsts. We've covered the first Royal Rumble that we've ever covered on Manic Mondays last week. And next week, the first time that we ever cover a WrestleMania, and we are diving into a biggie with WrestleMania 20. All the stars are out. We've got the Rock and Sock Connection reuniting. We've got Evolution. We've got Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Redacted. We've got all kinds of shit going on. We've got Brock and Goldberg. We've got Kurt Angle and Eddie. All the good stuff. So a lot to get our teeth into. And a very good women's match from memory as well. So a lot to get our teeth stuck into with WrestleMania 20 next week, gang.
Yeah, our first WrestleMania. It's a big one. There's some great matches. We, of course, know that Chris Benoit will be facing Triple H and possibly somebody else if they decide to interject. Good old Redacted. We've also got, of course, Eddie Guerrero versus Kurt Angle. There's a plethora of interesting things to dive into in that. And, of course, this year will be one of a lot of moments. The great thing is every pay-per-view seems to provide a really special moment for somebody, and this is really the era that we live in. You think of all the stars that have been made out of this, and obviously we're going to discuss this when we wrap everything up, but when you look at all the names and the people who were made, this really is the spine of what WWE has been for a long time now, and still to this day they rely on big stars that were made out of this era. I mean, look where Brock Lesnar is now. Look where Randy Orton is now. And even guys like Chris Jericho, who are, you know, helping out everyone else and working hard. He's a big star in his own right in AEW. So, yeah, this really is the spine of everything that people of our ilk or our generation loved about wrestling. This is a lot of the reasons why people who watch now watch, is because they saw these stars from this era, or people who have great memories like the Eddie Guerreros now, they all remember him from this era, and all the big stars that you know of now, the younger fans who are thinking, oh, Randy Orton's a huge star, you know, he's been a star for a long time and all that. Well, they were born out of this period. This time period is so important to wrestling as a whole, but in particular WWE and its legacy. And also, it's nice to be able to watch WWE at a time where they do provide us with magical moments and not just a big load of carny bollocks, which is what, you know, some of our Manic Mondays has been based around, us being able to revisit that stuff. It all has a place in the wrestling world, but I'm very grateful that even though this stuff has carny bollocks, like the Nidias of the world and Jamie Nobles of the world, all in all, this is a different level of entertainment, and we move on to WrestleMania next week. Anything else you'd like to cover, sir, before we wrap it up? I imagine the TNA champions are probably still the same as they were last month.
Yeah, they are the same as they were last time. But now that you've reminded me, and I leaf back through my very well prepared notes, I did look at some of the pop culture shit going on, right, in 2004. So, February the 15th, 2004. Who do you think is that? You'll never get it, so I'm just going to fucking read it out. The UK number one on February the 15th, 2004 was Sam and Mark covering With a Little Help from My Friends.
Jesus. Who was Sam and Mark?
I don't know. I think they were on CBBC back in the day. I think they were like a shit Dick and Dom. Like just fucking Poundland Dick and Dom.
Shit.
Yeah, exactly. They were a fucking Poundland Ant and Deck. So the US number one was Twister, featuring Kanye. It was Twister featuring Kanye and Jamie Foxx with Slow
Kanye
Jam.
West breakout song. That's the first time he broke out.
And the number one films in the US and UK box office, different films, both shit. The US number one film, 50 First Dates, with amnesiac Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler. And
he probably still wishes she was an amnesiac.
Absolutely. And the UK number one film was Cheaper by the Dozen, with Tom Welling, I think, was in that. The guy off of Smallville who played Superman in Smallville. I think there was someone else who's an actual legitimate star who plays a dad, and I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Steve Martin. I'm going to go with Steve Martin.
Wow.
I don't give a fuck. That was the best of it. 2004 was shit. I'd look, if we'd been like a month earlier, it would have been Lord of the Rings, Return of the King bossing it still in the box office. But it wasn't. It was fucking Cheaper by the Dozen and 50 First Dates.
It's not a great way to go, is it? After you've seen that. Lord of the Rings, the all-time Cheaper by the Dozen. Oh, thanks.
He's got 12 kids. This is funny because he doesn't wear condoms.
We hope you enjoyed that filet mignon as an entree, because we're about to bring you 12 different versions of fish fingers.
Don't you knock fish fingers. Fish finger sandwiches are incredible. Fuck you.
See my stepdad's spitting image of Captain Birdseye, bruv. Fucking ridiculous.
Absolutely. That's very true.
Right,
I demand cod. Breaded cod?
Cod is for fucking Grimsby scum! Oh, sorry. Fucking, oh dear, you've ruined cod for me, Grimsby. Fuck you, Grimsby! Fucking awful place. Terrible toilet. By the way, if anyone's listening, Grimsby, fuck you. And yes, that pretty much wraps up Manic Mondays for another week. No Way Out, it was a good one. And always, the most enjoyable fact is I get to discuss it with my best mate, Steve. Thanks for joining us, pal.
All right, Ali G, no worries, man. Ali G in the house. What a fucking movie that is.
Not bad. It's not bad. It's definitely better than Cheap by the Dozen, I'd imagine.
Oh, yeah, definitely. 1,000,000%.
It's not as good as Borat, though. What's the best Sacha Baron Cohen film?
Borat, I think. Borat was the one that had me just...
I bet Bruno. I quite like Bruno.
I did love Bruno. Yeah. I did love Bruno running around the Middle East properly gay with people like trying to fucking annihilate him. Man, him going to a wrestling show. Wrestling!
Yeah.
Connections!
That's why we're talking about Sacha Baron Cohen, because he's wrestling. Gay.
Fucking yeah, he was well gay in the middle of that ring in Alabama, and they start throwing steel chairs in the ring. Sacha Baron Cohen did an interview afterwards, and he said, "Yeah, that's the only time I've filmed at been shooting, and I was legitimately terrified. All these fucking rednecks in like Arkansas or somewhere, just about to tear him apart for being gay. Amazing.
Those rednecks listen to our podcast. Welcome, friends.
Homophobic, fuck you. Trump gay.
Trump gay. What a wonderful ending. I appreciate you joining us as always, mate, to discuss Manic Mondays. Another
Loved
pleasure.
it, mate. Always good to chat a bit of Eddie G, man. Awesome.
Absolutely, man. I'll work on my Ali G impression and come back to you guys next week. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to Manic Mondays. As always, if you've got anything to say about the retro era, or maybe you've got suggestions on what we can cover once we're done with 2004, do not hesitate to contact all the social media that you know by this point. You know all that shit. Search Wrestle Plug and you'll find us. And of course, you can subscribe to us where you get your podcast, wherever you may be, wherever you may live. Whatever kind of app you use, WrestlePlug is available on all of those platforms, so make sure you check us out. From myself, Amir's Nate, and from Steve Neal, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next week for more retro nonsense from Manic Mondays.